My hat is soaking wet, not because I'm sweating. I just got started with my walk. It's soaking wet because I soaked it with water along with this gator here. Yeah. So it's 8:30 in the morning, Albuquerque, clear day, late May. It'll be a hot day. Hot, not like Phoenix hot. It'll be, well, like yesterday, it was probably in the mid 80s Fahrenheit. Not too bad, actually, you know. It'll be in the upper 80s probably, maybe lower 90s today. Well, I'm out here on a walk. Today's the last day of May, and I got a few things I need to do today. So we've had a typewriter exhibit at the Cherry Hills Library for the month of May. Today, me and my friend Bill, we need to go over there and clear out the display case and get all the stuff back. There's 4 typewriters. One of those is Bill's, his Hammond Folding, my Corona 3, and then there's 2 typewriters that were loaned to me by John Lewis, the repair guy. So got to get all that stuff out today. And then I have some preparation work to do for next week. Is Americans for the Arts, is a national arts organization, and they're having their annual convention here in Albuquerque called AFTACon. And they've invited us, the Albuquerque Typewriter Society, to be involved in having a makerspace. They have a makerspace room they'll set up with local artists, kind of interactive arts things for the conference attendees. And yeah, we're going to set up 8 typewriters, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday next week. It's going to be fun, interacting with artists from all around the country, encouraging them to use the machines to create with, direct to paper, fingers on keys, ink on paper, unmediated, unsurveilled, direct to paper, thoughts from the eye and the heart through the hand to the paper via the typewriter. That's what we're going to encourage next week. So I have to finish my preparations for that. And it's a nice day in Northeast Albuquerque. That is a succulent. That is a really amazing succulent. And this guy's yard is pretty cool also, because down here on the side of his yard is one of the nicer little free libraries that I've seen. Albuquerque themed, lowriders, balloons. Is there anything worth picking up today? Let's see here. I'll have to come back for this. But it is nice to have little free libraries in the neighborhood for sure. Well, so there was some interesting news last week in the typewriter world. You might have heard it if you've been keeping track. One of the major suppliers of ribbons who I have bought from, and that is Baco Ribbon and Supply Company out of Missouri. She has decided to end her business. So Baco Ribbon and Supply is no more. They were one of the few suppliers that would supply you with bulk reels of ribbons, either 330 or 660 yards. That leaves, as far as I'm aware, that leaves Fine Line out of Texas, the only other ribbon supplier in the US that'll sell you bulk ribbons. And why are bulk ribbons important? Well, if you're a collector and you have a lot of machines, it's more thrifty to buy a bulk ribbon. It's like buying a bulk reel of 35mm film and using a film reloader to reload your individual canisters. It's just more thrifty that way. So anyways, Baco Ribbon and Supply is no more, and that sort of reminds me that typewriters may not be around forever as far as a usable tool. By the way, I'm wanting to show you this. This house is being remodeled, completely remodeled. We're going to have some kind of boulders, landscaping here, and they put up this nice block wall, this new fancy wooden garage door. Porta potty is for the construction workers, I'm sure. And this nifty metal gate. The whole property is being redone. So this neighborhood was built in the early 1960s. My dad's house, our family house, is a couple blocks away, and his was the model home for the whole subdivision. And yeah, I still live here in the neighborhood. You know, I've had a lot of interactions with people in the last few years at public typewriter events, and one of the first things they always ask me is, can you get ribbons still for typewriters? And I'm always very positive about it and say, oh yeah, you can buy ribbons on Amazon, and you can buy them from Ribbons Unlimited, and then there's a couple suppliers of bulk ribbons. So I've always been very confident about the long-term future of typewriters, just based on, you know, the fact that places like Baco, Ribbon and Supply were around. But now Baco is no more, and I'm interested in how Fineline is doing. I have not bought ribbons from them. I guess I'm going to be buying a bulk spool eventually. So there is that, and it gives me a slight unsettled sense that as much as the typosphere has worked to keep typewriters going, like I'm just thinking of the example of, for instance, Ted Monk with his typewriter database, and also the typewriter repair Bibles, where he's republishing maintenance manuals from the legacy days of typewriters to help people keep their machines running. And there's a number of typewriter shops around the country, like, for instance, Anthony Volpe at Typespace in Portland, Oregon, who is making new feet for typewriters. The feet are always a problem. Anyways, those are just a few examples. I think of Bob Marshall with Typewriter Muse in Riverside, California. Those are great people working to keep the typewriters going. But, you know, if the bulk supplier of ribbons go out of business, then someone's going to have to figure out the ink formulation and figure out how to make new ribbons economically feasible. There's a reason why Baco Ribbon and Supply went out of business. Maybe personal. Maybe she was just had personal issues, couldn't keep it running or whatever. But now when it comes to, electronic typewriters, daisy wheel machines, for instance, we still have ribbons available for the Brothers and the Nakajimas, luckily. Well, here's a yard that I walk by periodically, and they have a bunch of these trellises and wire fences for sunflowers and grapevines to grow on. So it's really cool to see they're using their front yard for something practical. By midsummer, these sunflowers will be taller than me. You know, you think about dry, hot New Mexico. Well, this is a lush green yard, lush green lawn, well shaded, beautiful greenery, and these succulents are just doing so well. I always like walking by this yard in the morning. Nice and cool and lush. Well, as I do my walks in the neighborhood, I'm always on the lookout for what I call curb couches, or furniture left out on the curbside, like this one. And then here we have an automobile up on blocks. Been red tagged by the city. And then we have, speaking of red, a little free library. Cool. This neighborhood, this street I'm on, is interesting. There's some really nice yards and houses, well kept, and then there's some not so well kept houses. Well, when I was a kid, crime was kind of geographical because not as many people had cars. Cars were harder to come by, but these days, crime is citywide because people can drive to other neighborhoods and do whatever. So here's an example of a not so nice neighborhood. This flat roof home has been condemned by the city, boarded up, and it'll probably end up being eventually remodeled or destroyed. But these are the kind of blights that, it was probably a drug house at one time or whatever, but there you go. the seedier side of Albuquerque. That, yeah, the Breaking Bad side of Albuquerque, maybe. And then, in contrast to that house I just showed you, right across the street, like within 150 feet, is a nice park, a city park, you know? So it's kind of spotty, the neighborhoods here in town. One block over, it's bad, and next block over, it's good. This park has flood control channel running through it. We're in northeast Albuquerque near the mountain, near the Sandias, and so there's a lot of flood control channels from, you know, the potential summertime flash flooding that can happen from rainstorms in the mountain. Albuquerque has one of the more prolific flood control systems. In fact, the skateboarding community for decades have been using the Albuquerque's flood control channels for these big unauthorized skateboarding events where you can skateboard literally miles downhill in concrete line flood control channels. And there is the Sandia Mountains in the distance. Thus concludes our tour of northeast Albuquerque. I'm going to finish my walk, go home, and continue preparations for the AFTCON convention this coming week. Well, I wish you guys the very best. Stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.